What's going on, YouTube world? Dave, Steve, Vinny, and our good friend, Jeff Morris. Uh, kind enough to join us tonight. Some people are late. I won't mention names. Yeah.
It's backwards. There we go.
You can't type, Dave.
E is for early.
No, E is for late.
Eternally late.
E is for expos.
There, see, there we are. Le Expo.
Hey, check this hat out, you guys. This is from a game in like 1979 or 80, and they wore these and they were for sale at at Olympic Stadium at Stade Olympique. Remember the Pirates hats that were shaped?
Oh, yes, I do. Look at that.
Had them, like, is that hat restaurant quality or what?
I was gonna say, I think the White Sox had something like that at some point in time too, during their good run of uniforms, especially in the '80s, with like the shorts and some of those other treasures and treats.
Well, the Pirates wore those all the time, and then I think the other teams wanted to sort of jump on the bandwagon.
They were so bad, though.
Yeah,
they were so bad. The one that always, like, Sid Bream. I don't know why he's the name that comes to mind, but Sid Bream is the one that I always think about in those hats. Like, I don't understand why. But that's the name that comes to mind.
Mine's to Culvey. And Willie Stargell was giving everybody out the stars that they would that they'd put around the Stargell stars. That was a great era.
I know. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. So we've got Jeff on. Talk a little about the expo. Trying to remember what the email said. If it isn't softball, the brain isn't doesn't process much besides try to find something to eat, bathe at some point, go to work, and then softball pretty much the rest of the docket.
We were thinking about talking about the first rounds of the NHL and NBA playoffs, kind of who emerged as kind of who rose up as somebody that's making waves in the hobby because of what they've done. Apparently Paul Skeens is a bit of a big deal, but I find that one really interesting just because he's a pitcher. And the last time we had hype for a pitcher like this was Steven Strasburg.
And that didn't work out so well.
Well, in the short term it did, because he basically drove the hobby. If it wasn't for Steven Strasburg, the hobby box sales would have been about half of what they were. And I don't remember what year that was, if it was 11 or 10 or 12. I can't remember the year.
2010.
Yeah, it was back then. And that whole era is a blur because that was sort of a bit of a dark time in the hobby. But yeah, like, lesson learned for pitchers, because look at how many great pitchers. Well, like if you're a collector, can you invest in a starting pitcher? Because everybody gets shut down for Tommy John surgery. Nobody goes any more than 5 innings. You're paying a guy $40 million or whatever, and he's working 5 innings a week.
Yeah.
And you know, you get Jacob deGrom can't stay healthy. Max Scherzer can't stay healthy. Justin Verlander can't stay healthy. Like every name an A-list starter, and they just can't they just can't sustain it. And so the question with Skeens is like, okay, when's he going to blow his elbow out? Because the human body's not meant to throw. What is he throwing? Like 102, 103
Yeah.
with high spin. Like he's just going to explode his elbow. So how long before that happens? So yeah, like buyer beware on that one. I mean, it's exciting. I can't wait to get his cards. He's only ever been in 2 or 3 sets. Last year he was in Bowman Draft, Bowman Chrome. I think that's it. And so he has well over 100 cards out, but it's really only 3 cards with a gazillion parallels
Mm-hmm.
in them. But I mean, back in the day, think of when you guys were in the prime of collecting in the 90s, and you never had to worry about Greg Maddux. You never had to worry about like any of those guys. You never had to worry about. Like look at the whole Braves pitching staff. Look at a guy like Jimmy Key. Look at a guy like even later on Andy Pettit. Like you could just had so many legendary guys.
I wonder if Joel and Ryan will pitch today.
Yeah. Like how would they have handled him? It's just so yeah, it's really funny with and then you flip the coin. You never see relievers going down like that.
No.
Except for Diaz with his ridiculous knee injury after the celebration at the World Baseball Classic. But why in the hobby do closers not get any love whatsoever?
Mm-hmm.
And like Mariano Rivera has to be one of the greatest pitchers of our lifetime, and you never hear him talked about in the hobby whatsoever. But he's the Hall of Famer of all Hall of Famers, and as far as pitchers go. So it's just a really weird thing with pitchers, and that's why. I mean, there's going to be. I mean, as soon as he makes his first start, Topps Now is going to come out with a Paul Skeens card, and everybody's going to buy it up within 10 minutes, and it's going to get a lot of grading, a lot of resale. But as Paul Skeens, the longevity. I mean, that's a crapshoot. But man, the guy's exciting to watch, though.
Yeah, watched him a little bit in that College World Series last season for LSU, and it was anytime he came out there, it was electric. I mean, he looks like a country boy. He's got that mullet. He's got like the late teenager, like the mustache, the real light pencil thin.
Yeah.
Again, you look at him and like, I can relate to that guy. It doesn't look like he's been lifting weights for the last 10 years and can't fit through the door because his biceps are so big. It looks like a regular Joe that's getting out there, and you can have a bonfire and have a beer with him, and then he can play ball. I think that's one of the appeals for some of the fans. I'm guessing, but then you see him throw, and it's like, good Lord. Like you're leaving a vapor trail. Everything's 102, 100, 103, and like, yeah, that was one of the big points that they talked about last year in that broadcast. One of those broadcasts that like he hasn't had major stuff so far, and he started I think at Air Force, started going to school there, and then he had transferred to LSU, and it's like,
and he was a catcher when he wasn't pitching.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, you're still wrenching on your arm, but it's not as often as like an outfielder or like a shortstop or a second baseman or somebody else. So there isn't, I guess, as much mileage, but still at some point, like you said, everybody that starts that you're throwing that much heat, you're going under the knife at some point. It's just not a natural way to throw, and especially that hard.
I think the only guy that can throw that hard and not risk injury, and he can't throw that hard anymore, is Aroldis Chapman.
Yep.
When he the first time I saw him pitch, it was just like I was in a photographer's pen at field level, and here's this guy coming out throwing 104, and that was before everyone was throwing 100.
Yeah.
and it was like, my God. And it's like the old line. I don't remember what umpire said it, but it was a Nolan Ryan story where the umpire called a strike, and the batter said something to the umpire, and he said the batter said, "Oh, I didn't even see that," and the umpire said, "Neither did I, but it sounded like a strike." and with Chapman, it's the same thing. It's just it's just absolutely crazy. But now every team's got 3 or 4 guys that are throwing 100. It's not a rare thing anymore. But when you look at Hunter Green from Cincinnati, for example, he's throwing that high, but he throws what Reggie Jackson used to call mattress balls. They just come in flat and you lay on them.
Mm-hmm.
And the slugging percentage and the OPS and everything on his fastball last year, the numbers were crazy. Everybody could hit his fastball because it was so flat. There was no movement on it. So is he good? Is it effective to throw 103, or should he dial it back to a 101, 100 and put a little movement on it? And that's what made Jacob deGrom so effective. I mean, he was throwing 100 miles an hour every pitch with his, but he had so much movement on it. But I mean, deGrom was so good. But what do you get out of him? 12 starts a year now. Here's a question for you though. Like, why is it that, okay, think of Nadal, even go back to Sampras. Think of the real power tennis guys with the 130 mile an hour serves.
Mm-hmm.
How come none of them have ever had rotator cuff or elbow issues? What is the mechanic in tennis that is so much different than a throw by a quarterback or a throw by a pitcher? And that's when I watched Chapman is when I really thought about that, because the way his body goes and the way his shoulder, he comes up over his shoulder and everything, it really looks like a tennis serve when he throws his fastball. And nobody else really throws that way. And it just baffles me as to why these guys can play in big time tournaments, every couple of weeks or every month, and nobody ever blows out their arms or shoulders or elbows or anything. And they're playing at speeds higher than what Major League Baseball players play at, as far as velocity of the ball. So I don't know. It's just something that always crossed my mind. And why does tennis not have collectibles? Why? Like, when you think back to the 90s, and I know you guys focus on the 90s a lot, the most dominant athlete in the 90s was Pete Sampras, no doubt about it. Andre Agassi was huge too. The Williams sisters became really big, but and then the whole Steffi Graf thing happened. But before that, but those guys are legendary household names, and it's like there was no place for them to have cards or collectibles. And it took soccer until maybe the last couple of years to really take off in the hobby.
Yeah.
NASCAR's kind of come and gone as far as the hobby goes. I mean, it was big 25 years ago, and now it's an afterthought. But yeah,
there's a few tennis sets just
way back.
But they weren't like a Tops or Upper Deck or anything like that.
No,
they were like
Ace Authentic was the name, and there was another one too, but I can't think of what it's called.
Like, that would be something that kind of, I don't know, if I worked for Leaf, that's the type of thing I'd be all over.
Well, Topps Chrome did something briefly, and it was a one-hit wonder. Deep checklist. The problem is, like, the whole draw was the autograph checklist, but the autograph checklist was weak. I think, like, the biggest name in the autograph checklist was Michael Chang. Now, Michael Chang was huge in that era too, because he was so young as a professional. I think he was 16 or 17 when he turned pro.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest name. So you're missing, McEnroe, Sampras, Agassi, Boris Becker. Like I can name a crap ton because I grew up watching tennis in that era. Yvonne Lindell.
Yep.
So
Navratilova.
I was staying on the guy's side, but yeah, Martina.
Well, that kind of is the guy's side.
So Martina Hingis was later in that era, but I mean, she became a big name. Monica
Capriati.
Seles. Yep. Gabriella Sabatini. I watched a shit ton of tennis because my grandmother loved Wimbledon. And of course, all the big stars came to Wimbledon. But when your biggest draw to your autograph checklist is Michael Chang, you're lacking in order to actually get a fan base excited about a product and or future releases if the biggest draw you can bring to the table is Michael Chang.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because he was well known in an upper comer, but he was never A-list.
Correct.
No.
Yeah, he's not Nadal and Federer and Djokovic. He's not even in the same stratosphere as that caliber of player. And yes, I'm referring to the newer core group nowadays, but I mean Federer's getting old. He's got to be retiring here before too long.
It'd be like doing a Cowboys set and your autographer is Gallup or somebody, somebody good, but not yeah.
But yes, you don't get you if I get him, yeah, that's great. But where's Aikman? Where's Emmett? Where's Jerry Jones? Or anybody of that era or further back, and Staubach and Drew Pearson and cut maybe of Too Tall Jones or whatever. It's you want those guys. You don't want to get here's the kick returner that came out of the XFL. Yeah, that's cool, but he's an all pro. Yeah, true.
But
I'm not. My chase card should not be a kick returner, a second tier. If Michael Chang won a tournament, it'd be the Port St. Lucie Open or something. It's yeah, I can. Well, who was there? And you see he beat the number 2 seed, and it's somebody you've never heard of. I'm well, there you go. That sort of defeats the purpose of that tournament if you only have one top name. So yeah, I think they could do it if Panini shifted to that.
Yeah.
That's big in Europe. Big in Europe. Do something over there, and I think you could get something going. I mean, event used tennis racket. Somebody smashes it. McEnroe, have something like that. Have that in a card. Holy crap! That'd be a big card.
I mean, they have
look at all the stuff you could do with the string in the card. You could do all kinds of things.
Yep, and they have shirt relics and stuff along those lines. But you're right. You got to think outside the box to a degree.
One of the things I'm seeing at shows, and the Toronto show was really, the expo was really like this, is that there was so many autographed 8x10s, and especially for sports where cards weren't big, like there were so many Mike Tyson framed autographs and Mike Tyson autographs. There were Muhammad Ali autographs. There were George Foreman autographs. There were Sugar Ray Leonard autographs. There were I'm just fixing on boxing, but there were a bunch of sports where you don't see cards, but there were a lot of 8x10s out there because that's all people can collect. And I'm not like most collectors. I have about 300 autographed 8x10s up on my wall, up on my my walls down here, and and I love them. I love them, and it's a great collection. And it's, I've got everyone from Rocket Richard to Walter Payton to Bird and Magic on one. I love that stuff. Is it collecting cards? No, but to me, it's it's having a piece of history, so a lot of people have to turn to that because it's the only thing. When I worked at Shop at Home in Collector's Edge in around 2000, 2001, that's when golf cards kind of finally arrived on the scene, and it was only because of Tiger Woods.
Mm-hmm.
If there had never been Tiger Woods, we never would have seen golf cards. There was nobody big enough that had a wow factor enough to drive to drive the demand for that, especially at that time, because the hobby had started downsizing as far as the manufacturers and significantly by then, as far as how many products the market could absorb. And what used to be a product that you made 7,500 cases of, now you're making 2,500 cases of. Like it was a time of shrinkage, and yet 2001, the hobby was driven by Tiger Woods and Charizard.
Yeah,
that's basically what kept the industry going. So it's, things are cyclical, but you just have to wait for a superstar. People don't collect based on a sport; they collect based on superstars, and that's why soccer took so long. Soccer's been the most popular participation sport in North America for well over a generation.
Mm-hmm.
But back when when the Upper Deck introduced their soccer line for the '94 World Cup and then followed it into MLS, the problem was, oh yeah, soccer's popular, everyone's playing it, yeah, but nobody can name a soccer player. It's not driven by the sport, it's driven by household names and superstars, and that's the problem. But we're beyond that with soccer now, and at the Toronto show, it's the second largest show in North America next to the National, but it's not the National, but it's the next biggest thing. But there was one row where it was dealer after dealer after dealer with cases full of graded stars of Messi and Manchester United players and Bundesliga players, and they were all $200, $300, $400 cards. There were $1,000 cards with jersey swatch and autograph. Messi still rules the roost as far as the hobby goes, and these, it's a big enough deal that we've got dealers who are specifically specializing in soccer now, and you never would have seen that in 97, 98, 99. You saw dealers specifically specializing in NASCAR, but most of the dealers carry all sports. But now we're seeing soccer emerge as a clear number 5 sport in the hobby.
Yeah, now you got Mbappe and what is it, Holland
or something like that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course the most recognizable name is Pele, but even then,
yeah, he could only do so much.
There were Pele autographs and Pele jerseys at the show, and they were,
I bet
they were plentiful, and they were moving.
And expensive, I'm sure.
Yeah, very very forgeable. Like you're buying something signed by Pele, and is it legit? Can you prove it's legit?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But if you're a collector and you want to believe it's legit, then just don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to. Buyer beware. If you think it's legit and then you're happy having it, fine. You don't question it if you have trust in the dealers, but some people do, some people don't.
Yeah, but on the flip side, look at we'll call it the conspiracy around Leafs Pele autographs. That was pretty big hobby news. Sometime last year, there was speculation that some of the stickers were not signed by Pele. Who brought it up? Who made it an issue? That I couldn't tell you, but I recall it vaguely that there was a few articles that came up and talking about the legitimacy of the Pele sticker autographs through Leaf and one of their products. But
I just got to grab a drink, guys. So talk amongst yourselves for a minute, okay?
no worries, Jeff. So how did this game come about that originally wasn't on the schedule?
This was the stuff that was last Wednesday.
Okay.
We rained out then. And then tomorrow's games that weren't on the schedule, we were supposed to have like a triple header on Monday, but they couldn't get out of school because International Falls 2 hours away. I mean, you'd have to play basically start at 11 a.m. to get everybody through. So we'll come with the team tomorrow, double header at 4:30. So it's more games. It's good, but that it's. I like the JV squad better because most of the girls are the summer ball ones.
You guys see that?
Zevia.
Zevia. Do you guys have Zevia in the United States?
Never heard of it.
It's a soft drink sweetened with stevia
Okay.
instead of aspartame. Stevia is like a plant-based sweetener, and
Yeah, we have that here.
Yeah.
The sweetener
Yeah.
we have. Yeah, I'll stick to my
yeah, youngling. That's nice. Stevia is also a food that's considered a cancer fighter.
Is it really
Whereas aspartame is kind of the opposite.
cancer causer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people always joke I drink a lot of Diet Coke, and they say, "Oh, you shouldn't drink Diet Coke; it gives you brain cancer." It's like, too late. I'll have two. I'll have yours.
You don't say.
Nice little. It's like in Planet of the Apes. Remember they gave Nova a lobotomy, and she had that big scar in her brain. And that's mine. Nova.
The full frontal lobotomy.
Yeah. The scar kind of comes down here a bit. Whenever people say does it go all the way down there? And I say, oh no, that's from fucking Voldemort. Forgot I was a Slytherin and he Avada Kedavra to me. People get weirded out. Apparently, I don't take it seriously enough.
No. And that's what you got to do too. I mean, then you start seeing if people like, okay, can you hang with me, or are you gonna be like walking on pins and needles? And it's like, no, just if you can laugh at it, that's always a plus. Because
well, when people act all weird, I really mess with them. The scar, you can't really see the scar that well, but it's a big line, and when
the light hits it, you can see it, Jeff.
Yeah.
With like before my hair grew back and I'm there in the neighborhood and all of a sudden the next day I'm bald with my head stapled shut. And our neighbors were all kind of weird, and this guy Brian, oh, are you okay? Oh, is there anything I can do? He's acting all like that. And so he started asking me, what kind of cancer is it? And I told him, oh, it's really great. Like the brain surgeon put a chip in there. I mean, it was like total Grey's Anatomy next level. It's like there's a chip in there, and I can slide a CD-ROM in there overnight, a Rosetta Stone CD, and I can learn a language overnight. Y en la mañana se habla español muy bien. And he was like, oh, middle of the night, he's like sprinkling holy water around our property line. And,
Going all Matrix.
yeah.
Got the priest with the rosary.
And then I started close talking to him and told him it was the only cancer that was contagious. Freaked him out. You gotta have fun with it. I mean, what you know. Chad Kelly's suspension. Do you guys know who Chad Kelly is?
Yes.
He's Jim Kelly's nephew that is the quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts.
Yes, ex-quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I know who Chad
I don't
Kelly
remember
is.
Chad Kelly with the Broncos. Was he like in preseason or was he?
He was like third string. But yes, he was originally drafted by the Broncos.
He got in a little bit of trouble in the offseason. And well, I guess it was during last season, and he's been suspended 9 games. We have an 18-game season up here, and was that too little, too much? It's really hard to say because you've got to let the courts do their thing, and react to that. I would have given him a whole year, because it's going to create. It's going to create a sideshow and a circus of protesters every time he shows up. And I'm surprised that didn't happen with some of the guys in the NFL. I can't even remember who it was that Cleveland ended up signing off of the scrap heap when he had some trouble. But it's interesting when you look at, when you look at court cases and players in the hobby. Philadelphia Flyers dropped off the face of the earth the last 2 months of the season because they lost their goalie, Carter Hart, because Carter Hart was involved in the incident in London, Ontario, allegedly with the alleged, 8 or 9 guys having sex with a girl in a hotel room or whatever. That was all of those guys are like out of hockey, and it's going to take two years before this goes to trial. So you're the Philadelphia Flyers, you're fighting for the playoffs, and all of a sudden, there's your goalie gone. If you're a collector of the Philadelphia Flyers, what do you do with his cards? He's like the Wander Franco of hockey.
Yep.
And Carter Hart was probably going to be the goalie for the Olympic team next Winter Olympics for Canada. Canada is not really rich in A-list goalies since Luongo and Price have left.
Yeah.
So it's the U.S. and Finland and Sweden have just a wealth of goaltenders. So it's a really interesting thing with Chad Kelly. It's like, see how the courts play out, and I mean, I would have suspended him until that plays out in court, and then see where it lands. But it's a really tough call and a tough situation. But I don't know. It's sad when that happens. I have a PSA 9 Wander Franco, the Tops Now card from his first game, and that was his first Tops Now card, and now it's like that's not even worth the plastic case. Like, is that guy ever going to see the light of day in the major leagues again? I just don't know. Yet, think of the timing of that. Think back to the 90s again. Karl Malone was Fleer's spokesman. He was an MVP. And, there were all these rumors circulating that he had fathered a child with a 13-year-old girl. And like, why? I think it's because of social media. Social media wasn't really a thing back then. The internet was in its absolute infancy. But now, I mean, every athlete that becomes famous, every rock and pebble they've ever stepped on gets turned over in their life, and their lives are examined, and they live under microscopes. And it's like nobody has a clean and perfect life. Everybody's got
something.
Everybody's got skeletons in their closet, and yeah, it's really a weird thing that, you know, a generation ago you just didn't think about. You didn't think about athletes and guys you collect having stuff like this happen to them. You know? And maybe it didn't. We just didn't know about it.
Yeah, you were more worried about the on field or on ice or on court performance than you were what they're doing in their home or the neighborhood or on the road. I mean, it just didn't resonate or didn't register with anyone. I just wanted hey, I want the guy's cards. Give me his cards. I want cards. He better do well when he plays. That's it. I don't care about all this other stuff. And now it's like everything. Well, what are you eating? Well, why are you not eating vegan? Why are you doing that? That's not you're eating veal. What the hell are you doing? That's a baby lamb. You can't do that. That's horrible. Like, some of the stuff should be criticized. A lot of it is just like making mountains out of molehills by just people that have no lives and love the internet.
Even weighing in on politics, I'm just watching here. Jeremy Swayman's getting pulled. It's 4-1 for the Panthers now. Swayman is one of the hottest guys in the playoffs, except for the last hour. And same with Zach Hyman, and they're both Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And are the media sticking that in their faces ever in post-game scrums? What's your view on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict? I would guarantee that these guys are being asked about that. And if the reporters aren't asking them that, it's because they've been told not to by the team's PR people.
Yeah.
Even when I interviewed Geddy Lee for sportscollectorsdaily.com about his being a high-end baseball memorabilia collector, that was one of the ground rules that his people said to me, because Geddy Lee's not only Jewish, but his parents met at Auschwitz in the concentration camp when they were teenagers. He's got a horrific Holocaust story involving his family. Like, he lost almost all of his family. He wasn't obviously born yet. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, like, all gone. His parents both survived it. But I mean, okay, here's a Jewish guy from Toronto, and all of a sudden, because he's Jewish and he's high profile, everybody's, after October 7th, everybody's wanting a quote, a statement, everybody's wanting his opinion, everybody wants him to say something. It's such a divisive, polarizing issue right now. Like you just can't go near it. Everything you say is wrong. And,
yeah.
And so, and when you put an athlete in, you know, these guys are trying to focus on hockey. Like, you know, why ask them?
Yeah, it's just to stir something up, stir the pot instead of. It's like you're playing high-end playoff hockey, and that's what you want to know. Like, that's it's an internet troll coming to life and a reporter forward. That's their opinion, no matter what it is, isn't going to matter. It's like asking a homeless person under like the Golden Gate Bridge, "Hey, what do you think of that Mariners Rangers game?" It's like, well, what the fuck does it matter? Again, yes, they've got ties to the region, but at the same time, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's no boundaries. That's the thing. It's having a proper decorum and knowing where a boundary is, and that sort of has gone away. Just like, I want to ask whatever I want, and if you don't ask, I'm going to be a dickhead about it, and you're going to respect me and respect what I want to know. It's like, no, respect works both ways, and yeah, hopefully nobody's asking them or trying to push those buttons or whatever. And let them play hockey, let them do their job. nobody wants to come to your job and ask about certain situations, or you wouldn't do that to somebody else. So, so a wild, wild world.
It makes you think back to the movie Bull Durham, and we laughed about it in the 80s when it came out, when he's telling Nuke Lelouch, when he's teaching him how to spit out cliches.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I spent time being a hockey columnist for ESPN.com. I was an NHL. I wrote as a beat writer for NHL teams in both Buffalo and Ottawa before. And it became so mundane with, well, we just have to play a 200-foot game, and our compete level's got to be this, and there was all these buzz phrases, compete level, and all these other terms. F3's got to get in there on the forecheck. He's the key to the whole thing, and blah blah blah. And it was the same bullshit. And it's like, you write your story, you leave holes for quotes, and then you go talk to the team captain, the coach, whatever, and it's just the same garbage. Like the world needs somebody who's fresh, and they won't. It's just everything is stale. That's the problem. That's why it's so refreshing to see like somebody like Bobrovsky in Florida have a Twitter account where he starts talking about like extraterrestrials and stuff like that. I mean, like, that's what you need. I just want to put my glasses on and read this question that Dr. Exclusive has here. Not to be confused with Dr. Demento, the great radio DJ from the 90s and 0s. You guys ever listen to Dr. Demento?
I know the name, but I don't remember him being a DJ. I think that might have been like a lower rung wrestling persona somewhere.
he had a radio show where he played all these Weird Al kind of songs. Like, he played a lot of Weird Al. He had a song called Dead Puppies that he played a lot, and it was all like kind of dark humor, twisted stuff. Can Upper Deck pull those Team Canada players from upcoming sets in the hopper? How far out will they continue to appear in sets? Upper Deck probably runs about 8 months ahead of set design player selection. So it's too late to get him out of any sets this year. Like, Upper Deck is already producing next fall's Tim Horton set. But with a guy like Carter Hart, I don't think you'll see him in any sets next year. And the really interesting thing too was that, the World Junior, or the junior set that used to be the second set of the year for Tim Hortons, has been replaced with an NHL alumni set featuring that's the duos set that came out. I'm sure Vinny got a tray of it before anyone in Canada saw it, like he did last time. I don't know how you guys do that. The Tim Hortons set, the second one this year, was extremely popular because it was the first chance anybody had to get a Connor Bedard card without paying $100 for it. So it was extremely popular. But yeah, as far as getting these guys, where did he go? He had to go to CVS. Okay, we don't have CVS in Canada. We don't have CVS and we don't have Walgreens. So which is better? I always thought that like Walgreens was way better and CVS was like a Walgreens starter kit. But
it's a preference thing. They're pretty much the same exact place. Seriously.
So that's one of the big things I missed about moving back to Canada was like, oh, no more Walgreens. Like, no more Walgreens, no more Target, no more Jack in the Box, no more White Castle. Like
Jack in the Crack.
Yeah,
I can do without Jack in the Crack, Jeff. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, you move to Canada Stan here though, and you're without it, then you start to crave it.
I mean, I understand that. I spent a lot of time on the on the West Coast traveling for work years ago. And the first thing, whether I was in, Mesa, Arizona or LA or San Diego or whatever, and I say West Coast and I include Arizona in the West Coast because that's where I did all my traveling. So but anytime I would travel out to that neck of the woods, the first thing I wanted when I got back to town was Taco Bueno.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like Taco Bell is everywhere. Or I say Taco Hell.
Yes.
Hell on my ass. Uh like I swear on my life they don't use real meat. Like
No.
just it's a meat substitute of some kind. And it doesn't last very long in my stomach. So I always call it Taco Hell. But I get it. You're in a spot, you get used to something, you move away, or you leave for a bit. Like I get it. You crave something that's closer to home.
And now that,
Everybody-
and then you go back and you don't really, you have it once and you don't really like, you're away, you crave something, and then it's like, then when you're back, it's no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, everybody swears by In-N-Out Burger. Like, give me Whataburger all day long over In-N-Out Burger. Like but Whataburger is a Southern staple. So, I mean, everybody has their preferences, but
I agree with you on Whataburger. When I moved to Dallas to work at Pinnacle, Whataburger was just like, man, that's like next level. That was so good.
well, and
Fresh ingredients,
not to disappoint you, Jeff. It's not what it was when you first enjoyed it.
yeah.
It's still good. They're still good sized burgers, that type of stuff, but it's not what it used to be.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, like everybody's trying to cut costs to a degree, keep costs a little bit lower so they're not fully increasing, the prices to the consumer. But like I
Is
remember
that why we're starting to see pigeon fillet?
could be. But
I just made that up. There's no such thing.
I know. I'm not one of those Texans, Jeff. Remember, one of my company was like founded in Canada, so I have a lot of coworkers in Canada. So you can't like stick shit by me.
The biggest thing going on in Canada now isn't the playoffs. It's the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And I don't know if that's made the news down here. They're dissing each other in rap songs, and apparently somebody shot Drake's security guard outside of his house in Toronto 2 nights ago.
That's nice.
And Paul C had a thing up a few minutes ago. It said Shoppers Drug Mart versus London Drugs. Those are two grocery. There it is. Yeah. So if you watch the video for Started from the Bottom, Now We're Here. Started from the bottom. Now, like brilliant songwriting. He must have been sitting on the toilet taking a shit with a notebook, coming up with that one. And if you watch that video, he's actually working in Shoppers Drug Mart with his with his friends, and and it started at the bottom, not started from the bottom. So like, come on, Drake, like fuck, like get it together, like.
The music's not my cup of tea, so like.
Well, there is no music. It's
even with that, like I give two flying fucks.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how else to put it.
I'm hoping somebody shoots him. He's a fucking twat. If we could shoot him and get rid of him, can we bring back Biggie or Tupac? And one of the two? I mean, can we have some sort of like redo?
We need Curtis Blow to make a comeback.
I'd be okay with that.
You're still sampling Curtis Blow in stadiums, like the breaks, like 40, however many years later after it's been out. That was actual music.
Yeah.
And
See, I'd rather have bring back Two Live Crew or NWA. If we're gonna bring shit back, I just aged myself. Not that I'm old by any stretch of the imagination, but Happening Sound, the best record/cassette store known to man. I shit you not, guys. This guy sounded exactly like Casey Kasem. The same voice, and at the time, it was his store. He smoked in his store. And he was a chain smoker, but he sounded like Casey Kasem. And I'd go in middle school buying NWA and Two Live Crew, which was, explicit lyrics. I wasn't of age to buy. He didn't give a damn. Coolest damn guy in the world. Probably died of lung cancer. Because the amount that that is no exaggeration. That place smelled like an ashtray.
wow.
Because he literally would sit there. He would light a cigarette. He would smoke a cigarette. He'd put it down to wait on a customer. But he'd go back, he'd finish it, and then he'd light back up another one. Dude, but got it. And the whole freaking, he had shag carpet in it.
Oh, that must have stunk.
Oh, the stench was horrible. But the first time I went in there and heard him talk, I'm like, dude, are you Casey Kasem?
It's America's Top 40. I'm Casey.
And now, our long-distance dedication. Steve is a lonely Broncos fan living in Dallas.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're Casey.
Please have my please.
I don't know if I have erectile dysfunction or whether it's just a quarterback situation that just repeats itself year after year. I'd like to dedicate this song to John Elway.
Hey, Denver got their guy.
Wow.
We'll see.
The good old days when you could smoke inside. When I was a kid and we had a place in Saint Agathe, Quebec, if you went to Saturday night Catholic Mass, they had Saturday night church so everybody could ski on Sunday. And it was not uncommon to see people light up in church during Mass in 1970s Quebec.
Now that I can honestly say I never saw. Walking through the mall, I remember it. Going to Prestonwood Mall with my mom. Now you couldn't smoke in the stores because it was it was whether or not the store allowed you to, so to speak. But you could walk around the mall.
That's right off the tollway, right?
Yes. Well, yes and no. It's off of 35 in Preston, or at least it was
near the LBJ and the tollway.
Yes. Yep.
Where Becca used to be.
Yep. The exchange. So and I remember, the grocery store, some of the department stores. It just kind of depended, it was kind of dependent on the store's policy, so to speak. But my grandfather, before he quit, he smoked in his office. My mom smoked in her office for a lot of years. So, I mean, it was amazing to see how fast it went from basically you could smoke anywhere to you can't smoke any fucking where. Because now restaurants don't have smoking sections here. Like at least I mean, in California they banned it a long time ago, but for a lot of years, Texas, a restaurant could still have a smoking section. You had to purchase and acquire certain kind of ventilation systems, which were costly. But the smoking section was like this big compared to the rest of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you would wait
I remember being
hours.
on airplanes when there was smoking rows and non-smoking rows. Didn't matter.
That-
In a non-smoking row, it still reeked like cigarettes in the whole plane. But
Well, of course. That's the only thing that I never experienced. But I mean, even like you saw me, I smoke. My wife smokes currently. She's working on trying to quit. But like we don't smoke in the house. That was one of the first things that when we had our house built, we decided. It's like no smoking in the house. And we've never smoked in the house. It's always outside. And it's because of her growing up in multiple houses in which both her parents smoked. So she knew what the house smelled like. I grew up in a house where my mom, my grandparents had quit, but my mom smoked. So, like, I was always around smoking in the house. But it's like, yeah, nope. No smoking in the house. So, anyways, I don't know how we got on the topic of smoking, but whatever. We do that sometimes with you, Jeff.
they should have taken some of the great athletes that were chain smokers like Guy Lafleur and had some sort of scratch and sniff element where it comes up as cigarette smoke. That's the type of thing that I wish I would have done when I was at Pinnacle. Because
see the ideas that you come up with now.
there hasn't been a fresh idea in the hobby in
Since-
25 years.
Yeah,
Other
long
than-
time.
And you know what? I mean, okay, this is going to sound arrogant, but oh, by the way, just a shout out to Bobby Burrell because I hung out with him at the expo for a little bit, and great show. Donovan Mitchell, Cavaliers. I did a story about him on sportscollectorsdaily.com. I think it's coming out tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I was going through sort of what his best cards are. His rookie card was. His rookie cards were in 2017-18, all the Panini products. And I'm looking through the Panini products from that year. And I'm looking at all the brands and I'm looking at all that they're doing. And it's like, my God, they're the same exact, like they have Pinnacle products and Pacific products because Playoff bought both the company's brands. Their next level at Panini. Some of the guys who were working at Panini were with Beckett when I was at Pacific and Pinnacle, and they used to crap all over us for all these multiple parallels we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of started by Mike Kramer, and then I took it kind of to a next level. And it's like they were shitting all over us for it. And I look at the 2017 products. It's the same product every time, every brand, and it's no different than it was in 1999 or 2002. It's like nothing new has happened. It's like they're just serving the same shit up over and over again. And you know, I mean, I understand there's only so much you can do with 2.5 by 3.5 inch piece of cardboard, but be a little bit relevant and be a little bit creative. And I think when everybody got an exclusive deal, Score Team said issues did production numbers vary by NHL market? Yes, they did. I can't remember the exact numbers, but they did. They did vary market by market. I think Detroit had. If I'm correct, Detroit and Toronto had the biggest print runs, but I can't remember which teams we did. I can't remember which, we didn't do every team, but I can't remember which ones we did and which ones we didn't. But I remember Detroit and Toronto having the biggest print runs. But anyway, getting back to Pinnacle and Pacific, it's like you look at these you look at these 27, 2018 sets, and it's like it's the same stuff. And there's so many levels of parallels out there now that they're not special anymore. I mean, anybody can pick any random player and get a 1 of 25, especially if it's not a rookie or if it's a second year or third year. Like they're just not special anymore. And the hobby collapsed. I mean, it started in '94 with the baseball strike, but the hobby really started to collapse in '99, 2000, 2001 at the manufacturer level. And the biggest threat to the hobby was not anything to do with sports. It had to do with E-Trade. The people that were in the hobby specifically as investors, and we're seeing that now. There are people who are collectors, and then there are people who are gamblers who are chasing the big, they want the big rookie one of or whatever, and then they want to get it graded and they want to flip it and sell it. They're not collectors, and when those people leave, they decide they can't. There's not enough demand for all these high-end cards, because demand is going to the supply is going to exceed demand at some point if it hasn't already. Those people are just going to leave the industry because all they want is the big, even in Toronto, we saw it, people looking for the big hits, and they just throw away the sets in the commons. That's what we were seeing in the 90s at our booth at shows. And it's like, as a base set collector, it sickens me. So what? And now the other thing too that's really adding complications to this is some of the stuff going on with PSA, where the big talk about the big talk about PSA on the what I heard on the show floor from a lot of the dealers was that they had a very valuable card, and they'd send it to PSA to get graded, and then PSA would come back at them and say, well, this is going to become a very valuable card once we grade it, so we want $5,000. And I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think that started in January. So the option is you pay the big money because they assume you're going to flip it and sell it. So you either pay the big money or they just send you your raw card back. And the thing that really I don't like about that is that PSA can manipulate the number of PSA 10s out there. Because to the naked eye, you cannot tell the difference between 8 and a 10 in most cards. If you're holding a card and you're just looking at it, you cannot tell the difference between it. And I went through that exercise at Collector's Edge when we did Edge Graded, the product with a graded card in every box. We sent cards with like kid gloves delicately shipped from the printer in Dallas. I mean, it was basically shipped on pillows in a van to the PSA office. 80% of the cards came back as 8s, and we're looking at the cards off the line, and like we can't tell an 8 from a 10, and we're not there with the microscopes and all the things that they're looking at, but if they're making that much money off something that's graded 10, isn't that going to compromise or tempt? If all of a sudden it becomes about making money for them, then it's in their best interest to have more 10s on the market. And is that damaging their reputation? I mean, it's a really, I don't know, it's a really greasy sort of problem in the hobby that I see. But have you guys seen any of that yet?
Yeah, it's the slippery slope. But the upcharges actually started COVID. Right around COVID, 2020.
So it's been going on that long. This is the first time it really hit the radar at a show where I was at. But
maybe they've revamped their upcharge fees.
Yep.
But because of people looking for secondary income and stuff, COVID, the work, shutting down all the people getting free money. People were trying to leverage cards as a way to, supplement potential lost income. And PSA recognized that, okay, well, because this card has the potential of netting X amount of money in specific graded condition, we're going to get a piece of that pie. So they were doing upcharges, and it was like your top tier guys, and we're not talking a $500 card here. We're talking thousands and up. In which, okay, this card is going to grade a PSA 10. Well, that comes with a X amount of money upcharge, because now the card is now valued at X instead of Y. So it's been going for been going for a while, and people are paying it.
So must have redone the fees and ticked those up a little bit too, since when people don't care if it's like $1,000 upcharge or $2,500 upcharge for a $10,000 card or $50,000, $100,000 card, maybe. Again, we haven't checked our PSA fee schedule, calendar, news. I haven't, and I knew of the old ones, but maybe beginning of the year everything switched over.
I know that it was January 1st they made. I think was when they updated. And I've never sent a card to them that's worth more than $1,500, so I've never had to deal with something like that. But I didn't go to the show in Edmonton, the Edmonton Expo, which is basically everybody that was in Toronto got on a plane and went to Edmonton afterward. And if you can just imagine how many Oilers era Gretzky's were submitted there, and if these guys were upcharged, I mean, it's the equivalent of think back to the Gretzky era in Edmonton. We're buying all of our cards in packs at convenience stores. There really weren't even any hobby shops here, like maybe one per city. Like the hobby shop explosion didn't start until kind of 86 and later. And so, you go back to 79, 80, 81, there was one card shop in Ottawa. There was like one in Toronto. I'm sure every city had one. But it would be the same as like going into a hobby shop. You pull a big card, you pull a Jackson Holiday, or you pull a Paul Skeens, or you pull like a red hot rookie, and then it's like the owner locks the door and says, "Okay, you bought that here and it's worth $10,000, so you owe me $2,500 before I'll let you leave the store, and if not, you can just leave the card here and I'll give you your $50 back for the box or for the packs or whatever." I mean, that's basically. I mean, that's extortion, but it's exactly the same thing. Like, is there a difference? Like everyone wants a piece of it, and it's not.
Yep.
It's not right, because you're paying for a service regardless of what the end product is.
Yep.
It's like if you go to a Dave, you're in Minnesota, so you go to a Twins game and it's like turns out to be an 11-inning thriller with a walk-off home run, and then it's like, you get an invoice from the Twins the next day after your electronic ticket purchase, wanting, oh, by the way, that was a really good game, so you owe us an extra $50. I mean, it's no different. Like it's just ethically bankrupt.
Yeah, well, money hungry bitches, Jeff. Money hungry bitches. Money
Yeah,
is the root of all evils. Come on.
and
Prime example.
you've seen that with a lot of the folks that you see on. I don't know if it was Joe, Dr. Exclusive, who sent the Instagram reel that Mojo had up with all the people, like the worst quarterback investment they had, and there's a guy that spent like $20,000 on Ian Book and like 15 on Daniel Jones. I'm like, what the hell did you buy? I know where these guys were hot at a moment, but that's like going out and saying, well, I want to get the next Maserati off the line. I'm going to pay 75,000. Okay, Vincenzo had sent it. It's like, how you want that? But like, even the trucks when they were COVID, when they weren't getting produced, like a Ford F-150 or F-250, they're $75,000-$80,000, and people are paying double that to make sure they got it. It's like, why are you paying that? It's you're paying for the thing. Why go all out? But then you have all these people that are doing that. That skews the market. People then you have all these people that follow them and look at the misinformation they give, and well, God, I need to buy the next. I got to get Spencer Rattler. I got to buy all his cards because he was a 5th-round pick. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, and look what he did. There's less of those Tom Brady stories than there are of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd rounders that panned out in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Yeah, Brock Purdy, the last pick. Again, yeah, there aren't. It's not like people wait on quarterbacks and all of a sudden, oh man, this guy's a late bloomer. Lucky him. No, you usually stumble into the right situation somewhere along the line.
Exactly. Well,
You didn't have to be a superstar for Purdy. You have everything around you. Special teams, offense, defense, coaching, front office people. You don't have to win the game. You have to make a play or two to advance the game to where you can win it with McCaffrey or any of these other superstar players. But to just blindly say, well, Ian Book's going to be the next great quarterback. Did you watch him in Florida? Because I did. And there was nothing about Ian Book that said anything but maybe a practice squad player. So if you spend $20,000, next time you get a wild hair up your ass on collecting someone, and you want to, I'll take 5,000 of those dollars.
Right.
And I won't even mention your name. So it's just like, holy shit.
Well,
But
here's the thing. Would Tom Brady have ever had a chance to be Tom Brady if Bledsoe didn't get hurt?
I was gonna say he wouldn't have had the chance because Mo Lewis didn't do what he did to Bledsoe. So he can thank Mo Lewis every time.
So it's one of those in which you take that out of the equation. Not saying that he wouldn't have got a chance somewhere else.
Yeah.
But let's face it, Bledsoe was still a very good quarterback. Would Tom Brady have ever been able to become Tom Brady if Bledsoe wouldn't have got hurt?
I think so. I think because he had been an understudy for 2 seasons, and he passed Michael Bishop, he passed John Freeze, like he worked his way up to QB2 and was improving and was ready. It was kind of like Garoppolo when he was behind Brady. He was ready to play somewhere, whether it would have been Bledsoe getting hurt or whether it would be them trading him for a draft pick or for an asset that they needed. He would have got his shot. I think the parallel to that is if you look at the 99 draft class, which was in 99 supposed to be 83.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Couch, Donovan McNabb, Akili Smith, Cade McNown, Dante Culpepper, quite a few. I mean, 5 out of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks. The undrafted quarterback that year was Kurt Warner, and if Trent Green never would have gone down, I don't think Kurt Warner ever would have got a shot to play.
Yeah.
Because that happened right before, it happened right at the beginning of the season. It was too late to sort of have somebody come in and go through training camp. Dick Vermeil said he's ready. Let's let him see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And he passes for like 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in his first game. And I remember watching. I was at that point. I had a game on, and I had my Mac, and I was following like everything on NFL.com I could, and I remember literally Sunday night of that first game that Kurt Warner played, of making some phone calls and getting him into the next checklist of the next Collector's Edge product we were making, because we were a smaller company. We could react on a dime, not like some of the bigger companies could. And we were the first company to get Kurt Warner autographs out there. And it was a game changer for us. It all of a sudden made us a football leader having that. But that was a guy that just came out of nowhere. But it shows you what a poor science, how we scout and analyze players, because you can just go through top 10 pick after top 10 pick that are quarterbacks, and 80% of them
Or nothing.
They're busts. And I remember at Collector's Edge when I got there, it was like we had this relationship with Jim Druckenmiller. And it was because the owner of Collector's Edge, before they sold the shop at home, hung out at a party at the Playboy Mansion with him. Like that's where the whole relationship started. And I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it, but again, he was the first quarterback taken in, what was he, the 96 draft? I think he was the first quarterback. 97 maybe.
Yeah.
So there are so many of these guys that are drafted high, and not necessarily drafted 15th to 20th. I mean, guys that are drafted, like Achilles Smith, for example. Here's a guy, Achilles Smith, that didn't make it in the NFL. Went to Canada, didn't make it with the Calgary Stampeders. He was QB3 on the Stampeders when they won the Grey Cup. Jermaine Copeland was the star wide receiver on that team. You remember him from Steve? You probably remember him from University of Texas, wide receiver. And Achilles Smith Jr. Was already, by the time he was a sophomore, one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in the country. He's 6'5", and apparently he can throw a ball of snot through a battleship, and he's fast as hell. And he's already committed to Oregon, and he's going into his senior year next year. But he's got cards out already, I think, from Leaf.
Yep.
And his cards are already worth more than his father's are. And his father was a number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft. Which is absolutely hilarious, I think. But I hope that he does well, because you would hate to see you don't like to see when a guy's a bust, but
and you hope the organization, and with all these cases of all these top 10, top 15 picks, when you get thrown to the wolves early, hoping that they're the savior of the team, and a lot now isn't that case. I mean, you still have had it with like a Zach Wilson, but again, there's a lot of organizational ineptitude too, where if you do not put the right pieces around the players, they're doomed to fail from the start. If you don't have a line that can block for them, you're going to be scrambling no matter what. You're a 3, 5, 7 step drop. It doesn't matter if you have receivers that have lead and stone hands. They can't catch the ball, and it's right there. What the hell good do they do if you don't have a running game? If you don't have people around your quarterback, and it's always, it's the quarterback's fault. Well, not necessarily. I mean, he played a portion of that fault game, but at the same time, you saw a lot more then it's like, oh, the Bengals drafted another quarterback top. Well, let's see how this guy does. They haven't had any luck. And then you go back to like, well, they drafted Klingler. Well, he came from a system at the time that was completely foreign to like NFL, any game planning guy, any offensive coordinator, any GM. The run and shoot was not instilled. They had it in Houston, but it wasn't completely like the run and shoot of the Cougars. So it was apples and oranges then, and now you've seen like the transformation where at least now offensive coordinators, GMs, owners are like, okay, if we're going to draft this guy, we need to sort of tailor around his skill set. We can't be drafting a guy that's throwing like Bledsoe did in his rookie year, like 55, 65 pass attempts. And well, now you're going to throw it like 15 times and we're going to run. It's like, well, you don't need to draft somebody like that then. If you want to draft somebody high, draft and tailor the game plan to what their skill set is. And guess what? More often than not, they'll succeed. You don't see Brock Purdy throwing 60 times. You got Elijah Mitchell and you got McCaffrey back there. You can hand the ball off 35, 40 times. And if you throw 20 times, that's doable. But if you're saying, hey, Brock Purdy, you got to win the game and you got to throw for 500 yards like Mahomes does, it's not going to work.
But even look at Mahomes, like your point is perfect in that it's like you as a coach, as a coordinator, as a scout, whatever, you don't try to fit pegs into your system. You build the right system around your assets.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you throw Wayne Gretzky into a mid '90s New Jersey Devils left wing lock defense, it doesn't work. You've got to tailor your game plan to that. When Patrick Mahomes came out of the NFL and started playing, everybody laughed at the Chiefs because they were playing pistol read option,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like that was the call. That's the sort of next generation of the wishbone. I mean, it's the same thing. You're leaving the end unprotected. You're reading through the mesh fake what the end does. If the end goes at the quarterback, then you give the ball. Your second read is run. Your third read is you've got a hitch. You've got a crack alley going down to the safety. Like it's all the same stuff. And everyone laughed at Kansas City for like putting in this college offense. Like, oh, that's not going to work. Well, then all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes is winning with that offense, and now everybody's doing it. It's a complete copycat league, and everything is crapped on until somebody's successful with it, and that's what you're seeing now. But the thing is it if you've got a quarterback used to playing in a certain system, and you've got if you've got him playing in maybe bring one or two guys from his college team or a similar program. I mean, you can build it pretty quickly. And it's frustrating to watch, and I don't think I think quarterbacks now are rushed in too quickly, and I think that they're not given enough chance. Like don't forget, like remember when Jim Plunkett was drafted by the Boston Patriots before they knew England after winning the Heisman, and it was like 6 games into the season he hadn't turned the season around or the team around, so he was a bust. And yeah, he ended up winning the Super Bowl in Oakland and becoming a great quarterback and everything. But it's like sometimes these guys have to bounce back from that, and I don't think we're giving. I think we're putting quarterbacks in too quickly. The game is too fast. The reads are different than in college. The lateral mobility of the linebackers, the quickness of the secondary to get up in the box, it changes the reads, and it takes a while. And that's why when you look at the '99 draft, out of those quarterbacks, the most successful one was Dante Culpepper, who would have been a Hall of Famer had he not got hurt. He was that good. He was leading the NFL in passing and in yardage and in everything. And this was a guy that was like 6'4", 260, could throw the ball 100 yards, and he had no body fat. Like he was a freak athlete. Had he not got hurt, he would have been a Hall of Famer. But the thing about Dante Culpepper is he's the only one out of those guys that didn't get thrown in the first year. He sat behind Randall Cunningham in that first year, while the Vikings went. Wasn't that the year they went 15-1, and that was the year that they missed a field goal against Atlanta, and Atlanta went to the Super Bowl. And it was Anderson's only miss. Was it Gary Anderson was their kicker? That was his only miss all year. And so then Culpepper, he becomes the best one, but he's the only one that didn't get thrown in there. Cade McNown was like a disaster. He never got another chance. Achilles Smith was a disaster. He never got another chance. Donovan McNabb did well, but it took a while. And Tim Couch, I mean, you put him on a crappy team and he's got no pass protection. He gets hurt and he never recovers. I mean, that was just a bad equation. But yeah, these guys need to sit and you know what? It kind of, I don't know. What do you think about this, Steve? Like Bo Nix is drafted by the Broncos. They've got a guy, but Bo Nix can take his time and learn, and maybe in 2 or 3 years he's the man. But it's like that was when it happened, when all the Broncos fans were like, what the hell are they doing? They just signed a big quarterback. Why are they drafting one? Well, that's an investment into a couple of years from now. And then they may be playing their cards totally right. But I don't know.
And here's the here's the kicker. You don't know exactly what Peyton's thought process is. Like, so will Bo fight for the starting job? Absolutely. All quarterbacks will. But like if it's the perfect thing, Bo Nix sits. He learns. Yes, they got Zach Wilson for freaking, a chicken McNugget meal. And like personally, I don't think Zach Wilson's a horrible quarterback. I really don't.
Caribou nuggets.
Yeah.
They gave up on him too quickly in New York.
Well, he was thrown into a system he shouldn't have. The situation he shouldn't have been. He wasn't ready.
Yep.
And in 1 year, it's like, oh, we're moving on. Like,
so in a perfect world, Bo Nix would be quarterback 3 on the depth chart. In all fairness.
Yeah.
But Peyton's an unconventional coach. And of course, he's comparing Bo Nix to Drew Brees. And we all know Peyton loved Drew Brees. And it's one of those in which it's like, oh shit, what is that going to do? What is that going to look like? The one advantage that Bo Nix will have is they also drafted one of his wide receivers. So you have that connection. It's the same thing with Jamar Chase and Burrow. You have that college camaraderie, you have that chemistry. Will it transfer into the NFL? Maybe, maybe not.
it will to an extent.
I don't dislike Bo Nix. I would have preferred them finding a way to draft him higher in this, like trade out of the first round, get a second round pick and another draft pick and create more draft capital and draft Bo Nix in the second round. Because a lot of people, and I'm not a fan of Mel Kiper. I'm glad everybody's sitting down. Everybody knows this because truth be told, I think Kiper is one of the worst freaking judgments of freaking football talent there is because he's missed more times than what he's hit in regards to certain caliber players. And he dogged Denver for drafting him so high, but at the same time, you look at Atlanta drafting Penix Jr. Like that was the shocker of the 2024 draft.
Yeah.
They just signed Kirk Cousins. Of course, now there's like the arbitration shit going on and all this other kind of crap, tampering, whatever. But I think Denver got scared that because Las Vegas was in the market for a quarterback, they like Penix Jr. Oh shit, are they going to try and go after Nix? So Denver didn't want to take a chance, and they went ahead and took him when they did. I don't hate the pick. I don't dislike the pick. I wish things would have worked out a little bit different. But personally, I like the kid. He's, will he work in Denver? I don't know. They better fix the offensive line before anybody plays another snap in Denver. So
I think if they wanted to help the team right now, they would have picked the tight end from Georgia, and I can't remember his name. But he went, I think, the pick after Nix.
yeah, the Raiders picked him up.
Yeah, because it's like ever since Denver lost Noah Fant to Seattle in that Wilson deal, they haven't had the same production at the tight end position, and that's a big part of Peyton's offense too. So
It is. They've got Albert. His name is like this long.
yeah,
Poor Albert gets a lot of crap on this show.
he makes Kumpo look like Smith.
Yeah.
Yes, because
What's the other goalie? Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah,
He's the other guy that.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah.
Still not as bad as Saltalamakia.
The Knicks Indiana game is just about to end. The Knicks are up by 9, but Jalen Brunson only has 28 points. They almost shut him down, like literally compared to what he's been doing.
If I may, that was the worst move Dallas has made in the last decade, letting Jalen Brunson go. They should have paid that guy. But what do I know?
I know Valerie Zalapukin is one of the coolest hockey names of all times.
And if we talk playoffs, NHL playoffs, let's not talk about what transpired last night in Dallas. Please.
I couldn't tell you what. I'd have to go back and look at the.
Dallas was up 3-0 after the first period. Should have been 4-0. And they lost in overtime.
I was asleep by the time it was over, but
so
I fell asleep when it was 3-0.
I fell asleep when it was 3-2. So, I saw Colorado score on the power play, and then Kel McCarr with the freaking beautiful fucking wrist shot near the blue line. Beautiful shot. Watching him play after everything that you talked about with him, that kid is fucking amazing. When I think of defensemen and wrist shots from near the blue line, I always think of Sergei Zubov because he had a beautiful wrist shot. Beautiful. And McCarr's wrister, it just rose and hit the fucking top shelf. And there wasn't a lot of traffic in front of Ottinger, but I think he misread the puck because he went to glove it and it just went right over. But that's when I fell asleep. And it was 10 minutes, 8 minutes left in the second period. This is when I went to bed. And of course I checked the scores this morning. I'm like, are you fucking serious? So that was a little disappointing.
Last year at the start of the playoffs, I remember being on with you guys boldly predicting Boston would win it all and that Linus Ullmark would win the Conn Smythe Trophy, and they didn't get out of the first round. But I kind of thought at the beginning of the playoffs it was going to be Rangers Colorado, and I know Colorado only was a number 5 seed, but I just playoffs is different, and they just have no weaknesses, and they've got so many waves of depth. And I know Edmonton, Colorado should be the West final, but I don't think Edmonton's got what it takes to get by them. And then in the East, the Rangers. The East is a lot more competitive and more balanced. I know that the Hurricanes are pretty strong, but the Rangers just seem to be deep everywhere and talented everywhere. And Shesterkin is the best goalie in the NHL right now.
Isn't that series tied at 1 though?
It's two. Rangers won in overtime last night, so it's 2-0.
Oh, I thought Carolina was up 1-0 in that series. Because I know the Rangers won in double overtime. I mean, I saw that score.
And how about Matt Rempe? Is he like the funnest guy in the NHL to watch, or what? Like the guy had more penalty minutes than minutes of ice time this year. It's like, you gotta love the guy. I mean, he's like a modern day Hanson brother, and he's such a big goofy. He's such a big goofy, aw shucks, look at me in New York kind of guy, and you know, he's, I think, 21 years old and just loving life, but he's a cult hero in New York. That's the great thing, and he doesn't have a card yet. All he has is a Tops Now sticker. That's the only collectible of him in the NHL. He's got some junior cards, and that's it for the NHL. He's got a sticker, so he'll be out in Young Guns next year.
No, I've only watched one game so far. Again, I want to watch more, but softball, like I said, seems to rear its ugly head constantly. So I watched the Toronto-Boston game Saturday? Was it Saturday or Sunday night? Whatever games. No, it must have been Saturday, game 7.
Yeah.
I watched
that went into overtime too, didn't it?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll watch this. With Jeff coming on, if I don't watch any hockey, I'm gonna be shunned to the depths of the desert in Arizona. So they're leaving, and then I can take up the Arizona State hockey arena that fills all of 4,000 people in
Mullet Arena. What a perfect name for a hockey arena.
Are you
think it's in Canada though?
Dave, are you telling me I've actually watched more hockey this postseason than you?
You have. There's no doubt about it. I've unequivocally that it.
I watched 6 of the 7 games in the first series, and I watched as much as what I could watch last night. But it's no different. The only time I watch basketball is if Dallas is in the postseason. They fucking fell apart last night too. Holy shit! But Dallas will not beat OKC. If they do, it'll be a miracle. Like Kyrie and Luka have to score, 40 each, and somebody's gonna have to pick up the slack somewhere else. If they can get it to, if they can take it to 6 games, I think that's a win. Personally, and I watch hockey if Dallas is in the postseason. Like outside of that, unless there's absolutely nothing on TV, I'll probably watch the Texas Rangers before I watch the Mavs or the Stars. But it's playoff hockey. There is definitely something special about it. And when Dallas is playing, I do my best to watch as much as what I can. I do love my Stars.
This is the 25th anniversary of Brett Hull allegedly not being in the crease.
Watch it, Jeff.
Against Buffalo.
Watch it.
Well, you know what though, when you think of it, that goal, I don't know how vividly you remember it, but
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I was living in Dallas still at that time. and it's like I saw it, and I wasn't at the game. I was watching it on TV, and I saw it. I was like, oh God, his foot's in the crease.
Well, they were in Buffalo. They were in Buffalo, so you wouldn't have been at the game unless you were in Buffalo.
Well, yeah, it would have been. Well, the games I went to in Buffalo were when I went back home and then went to Buffalo. But
Gotcha.
the thing is that the goal is scored, everyone clears off, the Stanley Cup is there. It's like they can't go and review it at that point, and they just have to live with the call on the ice because could you imagine after all that bedlam and celebration for the cup winning goal that they go back and do a upon further review thing? That there's no way that could have happened.
Well, and let's face it, situations like that is what creates rule changes and creates opportunities to be able to review stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what was it? Game 1 or game 2? Dallas against Vegas. Vegas was already up like 2-0 or something, and Dallas scored. And Las Vegas challenged it due to offsides. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm like, that didn't look like it was offsides to me. And then when they slowed it down, like by an inch.
Mhm.
But I'm sitting there going, okay, that's what the officials are on the ice for. How many times have they missed something like that? And nobody bothers to say anything or challenge it or whatever. I don't know.
It's an almost impossible thing to call naked eye at that speed from that close. Like it just,
yeah, it almost has to be blatant. Like it has to be like clear as day. And a lot of the times, I mean, you can see it depending on situation and circumstance. But you know, watching enough of the both series so far, I've seen it on both sides where they don't call offsides, and it's like, oh, that should have been called. Now, no goals were scored and everything else, so of course, not like anything got called back.
yeah.
But I was confused when they're like, Las Vegas is challenging the goal due to offsides, and I'm sitting there going, what? You can do that now? Shows you how much hockey I watch.
And the offside could have happened 2 minutes earlier, and they go back as long as it's the same play in the whistle.
It wasn't that far back, but I was like, what? They can do that now? And of course they called off the goal, and Dallas lost that game. But I mean, Dallas was down 2 games to none and came back to win that series. So I'm not counting Dallas out. I'm not counting Dallas out. I can never count Dallas out, regardless.
Vinny, what are you looking at your box for?
See how that says 5 packs per box?
Okay.
Yeah.
When I get to Expo Upper Deck, you owe me a freaking pack of 21, 22 hockey cards because my big young gun's in there, but I only got 4 packs of cards. I'm disappointed. I was going to open up Pacific Heads Up in honor of Jeff Morris, but I'm going to save that for next time so we could start that rip earlier in the show. But I've been ripping a box of hockey or something every episode, and I felt like I didn't do it this time because I did. But I feel slighted by a pack, and if I don't get a young gun Upper Deck, we're gonna have problems.
Where did
Eventually?
did you just recently come across that box, or is it something you've been hanging on? The Heads Up one.
Oh, the Heads Up. I actually got it about 6 months ago, and it's the retail box where you have to send in for the bobblehead.
Okay, so it's not one of the hobby boxes because
No,
there is. I don't think there's any unopened boxes anywhere. I think every single box has been opened.
I've searched high and low. I found retail. That's all I found. Trust me, I've tried. Because when I got the box in, I was like, what the bobblehead is supposed to be in the what? And they were retail. So I was heartbroken, but
And I don't think there's anybody that can redeem your card.
no, I don't think so. Unless I send it to Mike and maybe he has a Lemieux bobblehead sitting around or a Mike Kramer.
Might
He
have-
can pass one on to me. But I mean, the design of that year is the foilish cards, and they're just gorgeous. They're just friggin' gorgeous. And I know Heads Up's one of the first products you worked on, so I love Heads Up. So I bought a couple boxes, and I said, what better time is when Jeff Morris is on the show to bust a box of that. So
Heads Up was the first product in the hobby that had quad jersey patches or quad jersey cards.
and that is the year of the quad jersey.
Yeah. That's that part about that product often gets overlooked by the bobblehead. Or I think the second version of Heads Up, we had these little mini sweaters.
Yep.
That
I have a box of them.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool thing. And it's that was an underrated product for sure. And it's funny when you look at all of the when you look at Panini and all of the brands that they use, I don't think they've ever used Heads Up.
Not to my knowledge.
And I brought Heads Up back because that was a popular brand back in the 1920s and 30s. I don't remember specifically what year, but it was a vintage era brand pre-war. And
where's Bobby when you need him?
What's that?
I said, where's Bobby when you need him?
Is he still kicking around here, or is he?
I don't know. I hadn't seen him. No, I hadn't seen him in the chat in a while. But the one time we need Bobby Burrell, he's not here.
Speaking of Bobby, at the expo, one of the things that happened, I was at the Heritage auction booth for a while, chatting with them, and a collector brought in. There's a food set in Canada called Quaker Oats, where there was a card in cereal. And it was 1955-56, and it was basically the 1955-56 Parkhurst cards, but with a different color back. The Parkhurst cards had red ink on the back, and they made a variation with green that would go in the cereal boxes. And there were a couple of cards that were held out as short prints. And the thing is if you collected a whole set, you could trade the whole set in for a bicycle if you were a kid. Of course, you know, you're trading your set that now is probably worth $500,000 for a Schwinn worth about $20. So it's kind of funny how that works. But there was a collector that brought in about 50 or 55 of the Quaker Oats products, including the short prints. So that was a pretty big find, because the high end cards are rare. There's only a handful of them out there. There's a Rocket Richard and Hal Lumley, who was the goalie of the Leafs at that time, and there's a Jacques Plante that is not as short printed as the other one, but fairly short printed. I mean it's like when you play the McDonald's Monopoly. You know, there's they hold back. You know, there's only so many boardwalks out there. There might be just a couple of them, and that was the same deal with Quaker Oats. So that was one of the more exciting things that happened at that show. But Bobby knows the whole history of the Quaker Oats stuff. He knows it much better than I do, and he's researched it and everything. But
yep. Anybody wants information? Go check out the NITA map.
Yeah. He's got a book out, and I wanted to get his book when I was there, and I saw him, and I never got a chance to. So, the Montreal show is coming up at the end of the month. I hope he's there, because I'll get his book then. But it'll be a really fun thing to read, because he's just a wealth of knowledge of all the obscure stuff. Like he really knows that stuff inside and out. So, but yeah, this all started with Heads Up, but yeah, I'm just surprised that Panini's never taken that. And when you talk about Heads Up in the design, I know when we had Mike Kramer on, he talked a lot about Rob Hicks, who was the head of our design team. And apparently, I haven't talked to Rob. I haven't talked to him in years, but every now and then, Facebook messages and things like that. But apparently, Rob has been hired by Fanatics to head their design team, which is fantastic, because if there was one thing Pacific was head and shoulders above everyone at that time, it was design, and Rob was instrumental in some of the stuff we were doing. Like, he is incredibly talented, and he also had a team of designers that he communicated well with them, told them exactly what we needed for each brand and everything. So if Rob is heading the design team at Fanatics, that's only going to be beneficial for everybody that's a collector, because we're going to start to see some really exciting stuff. So yeah, that'll be good, good for him, well deserved.
No arguments here when it comes to your statement of Pacific having some of the best designs ever. And that's not just blowing smoke up your ass, or when we get Mike back on, it's not blowing smoke up his ass. Like,
but that's part of the thing, though. You talk about exclusivities, and Panini has an exclusive for NBA. They're not challenged. At Pacific, we were challenged, because no matter what, we weren't as big as Upper Deck. We weren't as big as Tops. We weren't as big as Fleer when they were around. We were, we had to do stuff to stand out in that crowd. We had to do something to be better than them, because we didn't have their brand power. And it started with Prism. And which one is that? I can't really tell.
Airmail die cut, maybe. The Revolution, I think. Revolution Airmail die cut.
It looks like Revolution.
it is. It's Revolution. But I have a stack of TD dupes over here, and that's the card that was sitting on top. Since we were talking about Pacific card designs.
That's a beautiful card.
Love it.
Well, everything except Terrell Davis is on it. And
Watch it, Dave.
One thing they did really well too was I really like the way in Rob's designs that he incorporated things like team logos, numbers, things like that. And I mean, it keeps going back to Atomic, which I don't know. I think Atomic is my favorite card set ever made out of the hundreds of thousands of sets out there. It just stands out. And that's, I mean, that's the coolest set I've ever seen. That's Prism, right? Yeah. Yeah, like that hollow foil is fantastic.
Premier date. As you can see, there's like some stamping in the middle.
No, there's no. It's not premiere date.
So what had to happen when they made those cards? It actually was printed twice. So the outline that was clipped of the player, like Terrell Davis in that whole area was printed in only white, and then it went back through the printers and it was printed on top of the white, and it made the color on those cards pop. And a lot of the other companies would just print on the foil, and it looked kind of muddy. Like Fleer back in that time never double printed. And another thing that Pacific did a lot of too was printing the card on paper and then affixing the foil with the player image die cut out, which was an expensive process, but it was just so lights out fantastic. That's what it's blurry. What's the serial number on that? Is that to 99?
20.
Oh, to 20. Okay, because I can't see it, but yeah, that's a great card.
We haven't bought one.
Like those designs. I mean, some collectors thought they were loud and splashy, but I loved them. If you're gonna have an insert card, you want it to have some pop because it's different and special.
Yep.
And,
100%.
and that was Mike's big thing. Mike Kramer loved like explosive foil stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It shows.
Yeah,
a lot of the products.
and again, I'll say it again, but I know that Mike's book is going through a second printing and it's on sale for Amazon again. For God's sake, if you're a serious collector and you want to learn about the hobby and hear like some great stories, please get his book. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah, Dave has his copy. My wife has been supposed to order mine since Christmas. Still haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, Father's Day's coming up.
Well, she wants me to send her the link again, but it's Vinny's slacking more than me at least. But that's the one of the reasons why we haven't reached out to try and get Mike scheduled back. Is before we have him back, we want to make sure we read the book because we want to talk more about the book. And of course, have you back on.
Well, as soon as you're done the book, let me know, and then I'll reach out to Mike and we'll have him come on.
No, very much appreciated. So Vinny, get off your duff. I'll probably get mine before you at this rate. Or do I need to order a second copy and ship you one?
Or Dave can just photocopy his entire book and send it to both of you guys.
No, I want a physical copy because if the opportunity ever presents itself, I would love to be able to get Mike to sign it. I know that there's a website out there that's offering personalized autograph copies. I'm like, yeah, but there's something about that. To sit there and actually get it to him to sign it, knowing, like that to me has more sentimental value than ordering it through a website, having him personally sign it, and then it be shipped. Like, no, call me crazy.
We can make
Call me
that
crazy.
happen.
Call me crazy.
We have Mike on again. He'll sign books for us. No problem. I know he would.
We are coming up on.
He's as passionate about that stuff as everybody. So.
And you can tell. Like we even still talk about it from time to time. When we had you and Mike on, and him enjoying himself so much, he's like, we can keep going.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. We usually get Jeff for 2 hours. We got him for almost 3. We're thinking of Jeff here.
He's the thing that, like, there's so many things even that I knew him so well that I didn't know until I read the book, and one of them is that in the 70s and 80s up till maybe the mid 80s, every single unsold case of Topps baseball he bought from Cy Berger. When all of these card shops started in America, he was the guy that had all of the product. And so if you were to opening a card shop in 1988 and you wanted to go back and buy products from the 60s or 70s to stock in your store, Mike was your supplier. And he like 100 pulled his money on every case that he made. Like he just made so much money on that. And it's like the vision that guy had, when he's 18 years old buying up closeouts. with his money he made as a crab fisherman. Is just insane. The guy's got incredible Midas touch, but when I went to Seattle to interview with him, we were supposed to go out to some restaurant or whatever, and he said, why don't you just come to my house for dinner and you can have dinner with my family or whatever. And it was Canadian Thanksgiving. I remember him saying, it's Thanksgiving for you. Why don't you come and be with my family and whatever. So I met Cheryl and I met the kids, and we had dinner and just chatted, and I swear we spent 3 or 4 hours, and he took me into his special room where his collection is, and he just showed me all this stuff. He was like a kid in a candy store, so excited to show me all this stuff. And I just thought, after having worked for Jerry Meyer and for Kent Lilly at Shop at Home and for all these people that were the big players in this industry that knew nothing about trading cards, to see a guy whose whole life was trading cards and he was so passionate and so successful, and he got it. Like he, the one thing when I went to Pinnacle was I told him, I said, I wanted to create sets that I would buy as a collector. And really nobody in that building was a collector. So he came from a different angle, but knowing Mike, it's like, hey, I'm the end consumer. I want to create products that I would like, but the excitement level that just sold me on it was just seeing, him telling me all excited about how he has his T206 Honus Wagner card in a vault at the bank, and all the things like that, like just so passionate about everything. Like it was just great listening to him. But I mean he's a fantastic guy to sit down with, but when you read his book, and then the thing is when you read his book, he writes it in a way that, obviously he had somebody writing it with him, a writer, but he writes it in a way that he's just sitting at your kitchen table with you, telling you stories, and it's incredible. It's the most detailed, real book about the industry you'll ever read. Like it's the great American story of how you go from a 12-year-old kid being a collector into being a Major League Baseball manufacturer.
Right. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to reading it.
Wow, isn't that something? There he is. So funny.
Somebody posted that on Instagram, Ground Chuck, a couple weeks back, and I couldn't remember if I took a snapshot of it, and I didn't. And I was trying to remember who did it, and I went back because I remember it was this picture of Mike Kramer, and I was like, with this flow from like the 70s, and it's Phoenix Giants. If you know, you know, cardboard legend Michael Kramer, shown here on his 1975 Circle K Phoenix Giants card. This man brought new ideas and concepts to the card industry through his company Pacific Trading Cards, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. Glad to have this card in the Ground Chuck PC.
Nice.
So that is a cool thing when I saw it. And I just like, yep, that's Mike. If you look at him really good, you're like, that's a young Mike Kramer in 75.
That's when he had his Richard Gere flow going.
Yes.
Either that or who is it? REO Speedwagon, their lead singer.
Yeah. Boys, I'm
Well,
gonna have to pack it in for the night, but
I was just getting ready to let Dave know. Just over 2 hours. It's about that time.
well, we're up to about an hour and a half now, or 2.5, I think. But
A little over 2 hours, Jeff.
Yeah.
On air.
Oh yeah. All right, boys. We'll have a good one. Can't wait to do this again.
Oh, thank you again, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Always good to see you, Jeff.
I'll try to figure out how to exit here because I can never figure that out.
Well, I'm gonna drop you down just in case. So
Okay.
take it
All
easy,
right.
Jeff.
Have a
Good
good
to
one,
see you,
guys.
man.
Thanks again for having me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I love that guy. And while he still continues to figure it out, he can still hear us, and I see him chuckling.
Technology is hard. It sucks. It's great, but good lord, there's some stuff where you just want to.
Jeff, just exit your browser. Just exit your browser. There you go.
Just take a hammer, and that's enough.
Well, this thing decided it wanted to do antivirus updates in the middle of my thing. It's never done that before, but I haven't had my computer on since last week. So it decided, hey, there's an update for Norton.
Yeah.
Let's do it now. So
It's always fun to have Jeff on. We didn't talk much hockey playoffs. We didn't talk much basketball playoffs, but then again,
With him, it's usually whatever he wants to talk about and wherever
exactly.
the flows, which again, many people don't care because you get to listen to something different than our gibberish and jive and.
Well, we may regurgitate topics from time to time, but usually we don't always. We try to keep it somewhat with some different perspectives if we rehash a topic. Speaking of which, friendly reminder, survey is still up there. Last time I checked, I think we were at 12 votes. I think 99 EX Century is leading the charge currently, which we kind of had a feeling it would. Haven't decided yet when we will have the future episode where we talk 99 EX Century. Probably be closer to the end of the month since we're now the first full week in May.
Next week will be tough. I'm going to say that right now. If we have it, it'll be Tuesday. Wednesday's a no-go. I guarantee you that. That's a softball game 2 hours away. So.
Yeah, so if you go to the IRP channel and go to the community tab, that's where the survey is.
I think I voted for Stadium Club.
I'm gonna vote for 97 Ultra Football because I like Fleer Ultra. But you're still at a whopping 54% of the votes for EX Century Football.
That's what I voted for, only because that's the most stuff I have available. I'm trying to save us money, since the other thing that we want to do is going to be a little bit more costly. So
I did finally put together a 2-row box for Christmas stuff too. So I was getting tired of like stacks upon stacks upon stacks. I'm like, you know what? About 8 of these left from I don't know how many years ago. I'm like, I probably should put at least one together so that it's centralized, and then if I have to look for a specific.
Yeah, so you don't misplace that again?
I got to put at some point with a Sharpie on the end of the box, like Christmas /YT. So I know what's in there.
Well, you're done. I finished you today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I only know one thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you only shared the one.
Yeah.
Which is okay. I like to be somewhat surprised a little bit.
Yeah, I stopped sharing. Every once in a while I'll share something, but It's I have a ComC shipment that finally shipped. It was supposed to ship in April. It shipped yesterday. That will have a bunch of cards for Christmas in it. And then I'll have one more shipment. Because it was late, they gave me a $5 voucher for shipping. So I will use that voucher pre-July 11th, I believe, and ship the rest of the cards. Okay.
That's one for Steve.
Okay.
Something completely out of the wheelhouse. Again, something that it won't be a monster card, but it's something where it'll fit into the collection somewhere.
It'll fit in the collection somewhere.
And
I
there's
don't quite know how to interpret
it. If I can look this guy up.
I was wearing a Shorzy shirt for.
I saw the allegedly earlier when you sat down. I saw them. Oh, Shorzy.
Season 3 coming up this spring.
Well, it is spring.
I think it's June. It'll come out this month for Canada, and then it will come out in June on Hulu for the United States because it's on Crave up there. So
that's a cereal.
Yeah. In other sports card related news, Detroit is getting their own. What do you call the Chicago show that's not the National?
Sports Card Spectacular? Something like that?
We are getting a Detroit Sports Card Spectacular. There's one in Kalamazoo, which is the other side of the state. It was either last weekend or this weekend.
That just got hit by a tornado.
Yeah, and then the 7th, 8th, and 9th of June, there will be a Sports Card Spectacular Detroit in Novi, Michigan, which is that way for me. But it is the weekend that C graduates from 6th grade. It is also a pro game that Saturday night, and it is the state of Michigan's tryouts for the 2024-25 soccer season. Everybody tries out on the same weekend. So what Vincenzo here is going to try to do
is not go to a card show.
Yeah, he's going to attend a graduation and a soccer tryout and watch YouTube or Instagram recaps of said card show where
Friday is currently free if I take the day off. And the show runs, if I buy the early bird ticket for $25, it runs 1 to 8. So I might be able to go. I don't know.
No, do not.
But
I know you want to, but remember the rushing of sometimes in Chicago where we're trying to get here, there, and everywhere. It's like, it's a struggle.
Yeah, that reminds me. I have to reach out to Ryan.
Yep, Jeff, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And make sure. Did Ryan say the 17th or the 18th? He would be the Dallas show.
I think we're getting spammed.
Are we?
Yep.
Spam is made in Minnesota.
Yeah, well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Go. This takes a bit of time.
Wow, there's a lot of them in there.
Yeah. Well. Some people have too much time on their hands.
No, that is the unfortunate truth.
Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do.
How the
Fuck you people.
Oh, now that's uncalled for.
Dave, wrap us up. I can't keep up with all these.
Well, we will see you all next Tuesday. Thank you for joining. Thank you for Jeff. And too bad a lot of you guys and your moms didn't swallow. You'll see a lot of abortions. Remember, collecting cards, it's a wonderful hobby. These people are not.
No.
And it's the friendships that you forge. That's what really matters. Good night, everyone.